If you've been searching, is myEcon just recruiting? Why people think myEcon is just recruiting? Is myEcon all about recruiting? Does myEcon only make money through recruiting, or what people get wrong about myEcon recruiting? This video is going to be for you because this is one of the biggest assumptions people make about myEcon. And honestly, it's one of the laziest. Really. I mean, the second people hear words like opportunity, affiliate, team, commissions, business, a lot of them instantly shut their brain off and say, oh, it's just recruiting. That reaction is everywhere. And the problem is, once people say that, they usually stop thinking. They stop asking questions. They stop listening. They stop separating the product side from the business side. They stop trying to understand what is actually being offered. They just slap one label on it and move on. That's what this video is going to be about, because if you really want to understand why people think myEcon is just recruiting and whether that is actually true, you have to slow down and ask a better question. What are people really reacting to? Because most people are not reacting to myEcon specifically. They're reacting to a pattern that they think they recognize. And that distinction matters. So let me get straight into this. The first reason that people think myEcon is just recruiting is this. They hear the opportunity side before they understand the value side. This is the biggest reason. If the first thing somebody hears about myEcon is you can build a team, you can earn commissions, you can grow income, you can create leverage, but they never get a clear explanation of what the products are, what the services are, what problems they help with, and why somebody would want to be a member even without the business side, then of course it starts sounding like it's just recruiting. That reaction makes sense because when the value is blurry and the money angle is loud, people assume the money angle is the whole point. That's natural. And honestly, a lot of people create that problem with the way they present myEcon. They lead with the opportunity before they establish the value. They lead with what someone could earn before they clearly explain what someone could use. And that just kills trust, because once the business side gets framed first and the value side gets treated like an afterthought, people start assuming the products don't matter. And if they assume the products don't matter, then it's just recruiting becomes the conclusion. That is how bad framing creates bad beliefs. And it is everywhere. Everywhere you see people pitching myEcon. I'm the only one that does in-depth videos about the products. And I'm one of the most prevalent people out there. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But the second reason that people think myEcon is just recruiting is this. A lot of people have seen low quality recruiting behavior online. Let's be honest here. The internet has trained people to be suspicious, all right? They've seen weird inbox pitches, desperate social media posts, vague business opportunity talk, copy and paste hype, people acting like they're rich online, people pretending every opportunity is life-changing, immediate life change, right? People joining something on Tuesday and becoming a fake expert by Friday. That crap is everywhere. That garbage is everywhere. So when somebody hears about myEcon, they don't judge it by itself. They judge it through the lens of everything else they've seen that felt similar. And that's huge to understand. That's a big thing to understand, because now we know they're not saying I have carefully evaluated myEcon and concluded it is just recruiting. What they're really saying is, this reminds me of other things I have seen that felt like they were just recruiting. And that's a very different statement. And if you don't understand that, you're never going to understand the resistance. A lot of people are not analyzing deeply. They are reacting by pattern recognition. The third reason that people think myEcon is just recruiting is they don't separate customer value from affiliate behavior, right? This is one of the biggest mental mistakes that people make. If somebody sees one person present myEcon badly, awkwardly, vaguely, aggressively, they're going to assume that bad presentation defines the whole thing. And that's not intelligent thinking. But we know overall, I don't want to say most people don't intelligently think, but most people don't intelligently think, right? I mean, let's be honest. Because when you do it like that, a bad presentation and actual value are not the same thing. A company can have a real value and still be explained badly by a lot of people, right? It happens all the time. Nobody starts out just being an expert. So if someone sees an affiliate talking too much about joining, too little about the products, too little about financial education, too little about actual use cases, and too much about money, then they're going to come to that conclusion. See, it's just recruiting. But what they are really reacting to is a bad presenter, right? And that's different. But the only way you can get good at presenting is by doing it, practicing. I couldn't tell you how many videos I made when I first started that I never posted. I still have a bunch of them. I ought to post them. But you don't want to go blasting things out over the internet when you just get started. And that's what I try to tell everybody. If you do that, you're going to feel awkward. You're not going to come across right. You're going to come across as spammy, and people aren't going to join you, and you're going to quit. That's why I built Digital Web Kings, to show people this, to teach people this. Right? That's why my YouTube videos are all out here, and I tell everybody that joins my team, watch my videos. Duplicate what I am doing, because I am making money. And other people that are duplicating what I am doing are making money. So I'm going off a track. Right? But let me go back to saying that people are just reacting to a bad presenter, right? And that's a different thing. And people miss that distinction all the time. And it matters because if you judge the whole thing only by the weakest explanation you saw online, you're not evaluating things clearly. You're reacting to the loudest bad example. That's not the same thing as understanding the actual offer, right? Another reason that people think myEcon is just recruiting is they underestimate how important products and financial improvement actually are. Some people don't believe the product side matters because they never took the time to understand it. They hear financial education, cash flow improvement, credit-related help, budgeting structure, income shifting concepts, household money awareness. And because those things are not flashy, they mentally skip over them. And it's because people are drawn to drama. Money promises get attention. Product value requires thought. And a lot of people don't want to think. They don't want to think that hard. So they reduce everything to the simplest, cynical explanation. It's just recruiting. That line feels smart. It feels dismissive. It feels safe. It feels fast. But fast thinking is not accurate thinking. It's just lazy thinking, right? And if somebody never slows down enough to ask whether the products actually help real people solve real financial problems, then they're never really evaluating myEcon at all. They're just reacting to a caricature of it, right? And then the fifth reason that people think myEcon is just recruiting is they confuse can be built with only exists to be built. That's a major misunderstanding. Yes, myEcon has a business side. Yes, people can share it. People can build with it. There is an affiliate angle. Everything out there has an affiliate angle. That doesn't mean everything out there is about just recruiting. But just because something can be built does not mean it only exists to be built. That's the part that people skip. A lot of things have two sides, a customer side and a business side. The existence of the business side does not erase the value of the customer side, but people think it does. The second they hear there is a way to earn, they mentally erase the possibility that the product side might matter too. That is a thinking error, because the smarter question is not, can people build this? The smarter question is, would this still have value to the right person even if they never built anything? That's the question people should be asking. Because if the answer is yes, then reducing the whole thing to just recruiting becomes a weak argument fast. So the sixth reason that people think myEcon is just recruiting is this. They're protecting themselves from being sold. This is a big psychological one, all right? A lot of people have such a strong fear of being pitched, manipulated, or pulled into something that the moment they hear an opportunity, they throw up a wall. And that wall says, nope, it's just recruiting. Because that label protects them. If they can dismiss it quickly, they don't have to think harder. They don't have to feel vulnerable. They don't have to risk being persuaded. They don't have to sort through nuance, right? They don't have to ask whether there may actually be value there for certain people. That kind of defensive dismissal happens all the time. And honestly, I understand it. People don't want to get fooled. People don't want to waste money on something that they're not going to get any value from. So they just refuse to see the value at all. But protecting yourself emotionally is not the same thing as evaluating something accurately, right? Sometimes the phrase, it's just recruiting, is not the result of deep thought. Sometimes it's just a fast self-protection mechanism. And that's important to understand, right? And then the seventh reason people think myEcon is just recruiting, they only hear from people who talk about money badly, right? This is another presentation problem. When somebody talks about money in a sloppy way, everything sounds worse. If they sound desperate, it feels off. If they sound vague, it feels off. And if they overpromise things, it's definitely off, right? I mean, we all know we're not going to be making $50,000 a month 3 months down the road, right? And anybody saying that is just an idiot, right? And if people can't explain the value of something, then the whole thing just feels off. And once it feels off, people default to myEcon is just recruiting. That's why posture matters so much, all right? Because the strongest way to present something is not join me, join me, join me, join me, money, money, money. The strongest way is here's what it is. Here's who it helps. Here's the value. Here's who it makes sense for. Here's who it probably does not make sense for. And yeah, there's also a business side for the right person, right? That is a completely different energy. It feels clear, right? It doesn't put you in a defensive posture. And clarity builds trust. And then another reason that people think myEcon is just recruiting, they don't understand that some people genuinely need the product side. And this matters a lot. Not everybody looking at myEcon is trying to become some big recruiter, some big business builder or content machine. Some people are just in pain. They need help understanding money. They need help getting more control over cash flow. They need help with household budget pressure. They need help with credit-related problems, and they need help building a stronger financial foundation. That person exists a lot. And if someone like that gets value from the product side without ever building the business side, then no, obviously myEcon is not just recruiting for that person. That was me when I first started. I had no intention of doing the affiliate side. I wanted the credit repair. And I got it, buddy. I got it. I went from a 510 credit score to a 780 in less than 9 months. Bought a house. I have a whole nother video on that. All right. But that's the point. That's the point. And let me ask you something here, because I think this will get people thinking, and it will also reveal a lot about how viewers see this. When you hear people say something is just recruiting, do you think they actually looked into the products first? Or do you think most of them make that judgment almost immediately? Drop your thoughts on that in the comment, because I think most people make that call way faster than they want to admit. And I think a lot of viewers have already know that, right? The deeper truth, let me go deeper for a second, all right? Why does this topic matter so much? Because if people reduce myEcon to just recruiting, they never really ask important questions. They never really ask the smart questions. They never ask, what is actually being offered? Who does this help? Is there real product side value? Is the problem the company or the way somebody explained it? Would this make sense for somebody who never builds a team? What part of my reaction is logic? And what part is just past baggage? Those are the real questions. And real questions lead to better decisions. But lazy labels, they shut all that down, right? That's why this matters, because once somebody locks into it's just recruiting, they stop thinking. And when people stop thinking, they stop evaluating clearly. That is where bad conclusions get stuck. Now, let me answer it directly, which I always do at the end of every video. Why do people think myEcon is just recruiting? Because they hear the opportunity side before the value side. Because they've seen too many bad online pitches. They confuse bad affiliate behavior with the entire company. They skip over the product side completely. They confuse can be built with only exists to be built. They use quick dismissal for self-protection. Too many people talk about money badly, and because they don't understand that some people genuinely need the product side first. That's the real answer, not the lazy answer, the real one. And once you understand that, you can think more clearly, because now, instead of just saying, it's just recruiting, you can ask, am I reacting to the offer itself or the way someone presented it? Did I actually look at the product side? Am I thinking clearly or just reacting to a pattern that I have seen before? Those are better questions. And better questions are what smarter adults ask before making decisions about money products, or opportunities. So if you're looking at myEcon and trying to figure out whether it is just recruiting, here's the truth. It can be presented like that by the wrong people, but that doesn't automatically mean that's all it is. There's a big difference. And understanding that difference can save people from making lazy judgments based on weak presentations instead of actual value. If this video helped you in any way, consider hitting that subscribe button, because I'm building this entire playlist around the questions that people are searching for about myEcon online in a real world, no garbage, no BS, no crap way, direct way. And again, drop your answer to my question in the comments. Do most people really look into the product side first, or do they decide just recruiting almost immediately? That is a conversation worth having. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.